In the relentless chess game that defines the Golden State Warriors' pursuit of greatness, one piece has refused to be moved, defying the swirling rumors and high-stakes contract whispers. Jonathan Kuminga, the enigmatic 22-year-old phenom whose trajectory has stirred both hope and heated debate across Dub Nation, finds himself at an electrifying crossroads that could shape the very DNA of the Splash-era legacy. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with Splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. The offseason saga has simmered with speculation, painting a vivid picture of potential exits and whirlwind trades. But, as Tim Kawakami of the San Francisco Standard has brought to light, the Warriors are standing firm Kuminga is not going anywhere this summer. No blockbuster sign-and trade, no immediate departure. The franchise envisions Jonathan Kuminga returning to ride shotgun into the season's thunderous battles, a steadfast figure on the roster, even amid contract friction that has tested loyalties and fan patience alike. Yet beneath the surface lies a simmering tension that betrays the smooth surface of routine front office strategy. Kuminga's contractual standoff is not merely a matter of numbers, though the paltry 2-year, $45 million offer laid on the table by Golden State screens undervaluation compared to rival teams, dangling 4-year commitments worth around $90 million, but a deeper tug-of-war about power, respect, and control over his own destiny. ESPN's Shams Charania and Anthony Slater peel back the layers, revealing how Kuminga's rejection of the Warriors' proposal hinges on more than just money. It's about the principle of veto rights and the suffocating grasp of a team option that feels like a leash rather than a lifeline to a player who believes his career has been stunted and strung along for 4 seasons. Are we witnessing the emergence of a player who's not just chasing a contract, but a narrative rewritten on his own terms? Could this standstill between a promising young star and a franchise still basking in the glory of the Curry-led dynasty be the pivot point where past meets future ambitions? After all, Kuminga's stint last season averaged an impressive 15.3 points per game, flashes of the prodigy we hoped would blossom into a star shining alongside Steph, Clay, and Draymond. And yet, the harsh reality of restricted free agency casts long shadows. His status grants the Warriors the right to match any offer, hemming in Kuminga's freedom, making a sign-and-trade the thin, ambivalent betrayal that could sever the ties of the last 4 years if a trade partner ever surfaces with the right package. But here's the under-the-radar bomb no one saw coming. Sign-and-trade talks have stalled, the kind of silence that screams uncertainty with no enticing offers, hitting the Warriors' radar to turn Kuminga's contract saga into a strategic asset. What does this mean for a franchise balancing salary cap gymnastics, championship windows, and the fresh hope of new recruits like Moses Moody? Is Kuminga's probable short-term contract acceptance the wiser path, the chance to prove he's a star in the making before demanding a long-term deal? This tension between potential and patience, control and concession, is the pulse beating at the heart of Dub Nation's collective psyche. As we revisit the echoes of We Believe and relive the golden moments etched by Splash-era icons, one must ask, does Kuminga's story embody the tenacity and resilience that have defined Warriors basketball, or does it foreshadow the cracks in a dynasty's armor as the league's fierce new challengers loom? The Warriors front office is walking a high-wire act with no safety net. Every step a test of balance between ambition and caution, between building for tomorrow and honoring the foundation laid over the last decade. Their decisions in these next few weeks won't just shape this roster for the upcoming season, they'll reverberate through seasons yet to come, rippling into rotations, trust, and the unspoken chemistry that flows from the Chase Center hardwood out into the streets of the Bay. These aren't just basketball moves. They're declarations of identity, statements about what kind of team Golden State wants to be in the twilight of Steph Curry's career. And right now, every sign, every whisper, every carefully leaked report points toward one name as the hinge of it all: Jonathan Kuminga. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this, because Kuminga is more than just a young, athletic forward with upside. He's the living embodiment of a question that's haunted every great dynasty. How do you transition from one era to the next without losing the soul of what made you great? If the front office decides to ignite Kuminga's fullest potential, to put the ball in his hands, trust him with the big defensive assignments, and let him grow through the mistakes, we could be watching the birth of a player who bridges generations, carrying the Warriors from the splash era magic into a new phase of dominance. But if they tighten the reins, reduce his role to a piece in the salary cap puzzle, or dangle him as trade bait in a league where short-term fixes often tempt even the smartest organizations, then we might watch that potential slip through their fingers like sand in the wind. This is the razor's edge we're on. The same decision could be the ignition point for our next title run, or the quiet crack in the armor that eventually splits the legacy wide open. I keep flashing back to moments in NBA history when a single front office choice changed everything, when the Spurs doubled down on Kawhi Leonard and reaped the rewards, or when Oklahoma City moved on from James Harden and spent the next decade chasing the chemistry they'd lost. Golden State has always prided itself on being different, on blending the human side of basketball with the cold calculations of winning in a salary cap era. But right now, in this moment, they stand at a crossroads where the wrong turn doesn't just cost you a season. It can cost you the trust of a fan base and the spirit of a locker room. So I have to ask, Dub Nation, do you believe this is the spark that will set off one last glorious blaze of championship basketball? Or is it the hairline fracture that will grow until we look back and realize the end began right here? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there with you, heart in hand, ready to ride this storm until we see where it lands. If you felt that tension tighten your throat reading about Kuminga's crossroads, I want you to scream it out loud in the comments raw. Unfiltered Dub Nation fury right here, because this is not just a negotiation. It's an existential shockwave, rattling through Chase Center's soul. Jonathan Kuminga refusing the Warriors' 2-year, $45 million offer isn't some petty contract squabble. It's the clearest sign we've had in years that the future wants to break free from the past. Suffocating shadow. You have to understand what this means in the battlefield that is Golden State basketball. Here we are, a dynasty that's somehow still clutching the fading embers of 3 championships in 8 seasons, trying to blend the old guard's venomous hunger with the raw, untapped explosiveness of a kid who could be the next dominant freak of nature in this league. And Kuminga is saying, no, I'm not your backup plan. I'm not a placeholder or an afterthought in Curry's fading sunset. This isn't about money alone, though. God, the paltry offer stings when you measure it against what other young stars are cashing in. This is about respect, trust, and control. Kuminga's fight for veto power, for escaping the brutal grasp of the team option that feels like a leash, screams that he's done being the puppet. And what does that say about the Warriors front office that built the empire? That's so much. Trust invested in a gifted totem of youth is now clashing with a cold calculus that still measures him by who he isn't yet rather than who he's screaming to become. This contract deadlock is a fissure cracking the granite of dynasty-era hubris, where the "we made you and can break you" mindset bumps into a self-aware young lion snarling, claiming his own path. And let's talk chemistry, because you know every contract drama breeds locker room whispers. Steph Curry, that calm eye in championship storms, faces not just the clock-chopping years, but the raw edge of watching a once promising kid push back hard. Steph's legacy etched in 3 South and 3-speed finals hangs in the balance with a player who is as volatile as he is electric. Can Curry's steady leadership pull Kuminga into the fold, or will this tension bleed into the days, weeks, and games ahead, fracturing the delicate harmony that Kerr has danced around with near psychic precision? Remember last season when Wiggins' inconsistency brought fresh doubt and Draymond's fiery grip on the team's soul was challenged? Now imagine that same unrest wrapped in Kuminga's untamed talent, compounded by whispers of Moses Moody's Quiet rise and the hungry questions from deep bench guys, ready to explode if they sense weakness. The harder the Warriors cling to the familiar, the more they risk alienating the revolution bubbling beneath. What if this moment is the birth pangs of a new era that demands not just splash plays, but splash power, splash attitude? Last season's flashes were just a tease 15.3 points per game with a raw edge that promised star-caliber breaks, defensive chaos, and that elusive alpha on the rise vibe. But what if Kuminga locking in for a short-term deal is a brilliant move? A dare to prove he's the real deal, a pledge to outgun the lottery here and now instead of gambling longer? Or what if it's a harbinger of decay, a sign that internal friction will corrode the Warriors' championship DNA just as Luka, Yamorin, and a new generation of hungry stars close in? This isn't just a roster question, it's the crucible for Warriors' identity. Because if the front office caves to undervalue Kuminga, they send a signal, loud and clear, that the dynasty's heart beats slower, that the chosen few from the old guard still guard the kingdom, forcing the future into a shadow game. But if Kuminga explodes, owning his rebellion and locking in a star role, maybe, just maybe, this is the spark that reignites a title run when the league least expects it. It's why Kerr's calm in press conferences hides a storm beneath every minute. Ticking away from training camp to opening tip is a countdown to either triumphant synergy or a ticking time bomb in the locker room. Our rotations, where every possession counts, might depend on who falls in line or who breaks away. The foundation that brought 5 straight finals appearances now faces an unprecedented test. Can they absorb the wildfire of Kuminga's ambition without burning down the dynasty? Because make no mistake, this curveball isn't just numbers on paper. It's the clash of old-school loyalty and new-school ownership, of a legacy trying to hold steady as the ground quakes beneath. And the Warriors' gamble is not just on a contract. It's on the soul of the franchise. I bleed blue and gold through every pulse of this story, from crying over missed shots in brutal playoffs to screaming in parades that engulf San Francisco streets. This moment tastes different, electric and dangerous. Something's shifting here, not just in Kuminga's future, but in what Warriors basketball will look and feel like tomorrow, next season, and maybe for the next decade. This isn't some minor front office adjustment or a small ripple in the roster. It's a tectonic plate shifting beneath the very court at Chase Center. Will we watch Kuminga rise as the new spearhead of Dub Nation's next chapter? A relentless two-way force who can carry the banner when the Splash Brothers finally step into the sunset. Will he become that unshakable cornerstone, the one who blends the athletic explosiveness of youth with the seasoned cunning he's absorbed from Steph, Draymond, and Clay over these last years? Or will this silent stalemate the unspoken tension between player ambition and organizational control spiral into a fracture deeper and more damaging than any injury, any losing streak, any off-court controversy? That's the raw fracture line we're standing on right now. One step to the left, and you're walking into a new golden era where Kuminga's star burns so bright it lights the path for the entire franchise. One step to the right, and you're tumbling into a chasm of what-ifs, watching another team harness the very potential we once dreamed of, while our own roster scrambles to fill the void. And the stakes don't stop with Kuminga, because every player in that locker room is watching. They're reading between the lines of every press conference, feeling the subtle shifts in trust, wondering whether the front office will choose vision over control, belief over caution. This decision sends shockwaves into the team's identity, shaping how players view the jersey they wear and the organization that commands it. So now, I'm throwing it to you, Dub Nation. The heartbeat of this team through every rise and fall. Throw down your hottest, no-holds-barred thoughts below. No retreat, no apologies. Tell me, in the rawest truth you've got, who you think wins this battle of wills? Is it Kuminga, forcing the organization's hand with his undeniable production and sheer willpower? Or is it the front office, tightening their grip until the message is clear? The dynasty is bigger than any one player? And what does that mean for the identity we've all sworn by? For the culture that's carried us through banners, heartbreaks, and comebacks? How long do you believe the Warriors can ride this razor-thin edge before it snaps? Because make no mistake, edges like this don't last forever. They either cut you or they launch you forward. I'll be right there, deep in the trenches with you, trading heat and hope, dissecting every move, every hint, every piece of body language on and off the court. Because for me, and I know for you too, this isn't just about a contract or minutes or rotations. It's about the future that Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors are desperate to claim, and whether we have the courage to fight for it before it slips away.